Frank Klose is here after the Phillies come from behind win, kind of. Well, they were up, then they were down, then they were up again. 2 in a row, walk-off style for the Phils. Well, we got a lot to discuss here. We talked a lot of Phillies at the opening of the show here. We had a lot of reaction on that, Frank, and he, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. What's going on, Frank?
Not much. Phillies win. That's always good, right?
Phillies win, yes. And they were up 1-0. Neris gives up the home run, and then Alvarado comes in. And now, I saw your tweet here, and I don't think I agree with it at all.
Which one?
You said the people who were ripping Neris and Alvarado, did you want Hale in? I don't think the anger, well, at least for me, like, it's not that I prefer Hale. It's my recognition, me recognizing that this team is just what they are, mediocre. They don't have better options, but that's the problem. I have to rely on Alvarado. That tells me all I need to know about who I am. I have a guy who's a professional baseball player who can't consistently throw strikes, but he's the best option I have. There's my issue. Not that Hale's better. It's that's my best option.
Right. Well, that can be your issue, but at the same time, that is not Joe Girardi's fault. He did not put the roster together.
Well, I'm not blaming him.
Well, right. That's the thing. Like, I saw a lot of people blaming Joe Girardi. Like, I'm like, well, who do you want them to go to? Like, your options beyond those two are David Hale, right? I mean, David Hale is still on this roster. He's going to be the one that has to come in if you're going to avoid those guys. And quite honestly, of the ones that he has, they probably give you the best chance to win. And they were an Odubel Herrera catch from winning that game under Neris anyway.
Yes, absolutely. And look, I see the people going after Odubel Herrera as well. Could he have made the catch? Yes. You're asking him to rob a home run.
I thought he had a chance. Okay, so not that he should have had it. It would have been a nice play, but he definitely got turned around the wrong way on that ball. After the game, Joe Girardi was saying that
he's not a good center fielder.
He's not. No, you and I have never thought that.
Yeah, no, he's not a good center fielder, and that's another. Like, okay, so earlier today I said I don't want the Phillies to trade Rhys Hoskins. I don't want that, but I recognize at some point they have to decide. With this group of guys, is this who we are? Are we just a 500 team? We're just going to be stuck in this middle. This is who we are. They have to make that decision. And if they make the decision of this is who we are, we're a 500 team, and they want to change it, he's the only guy that makes sense to move, correct?
I think that's the case. But again, you need two to tango, right? So you need to find somebody that's willing to take him. And again, I keep throwing out the caveat, if there's a DH next year, maybe he's okay to stick around, but again, it depends on the bigger picture because Alec Boehm probably can't stay at third base. We've been saying that since before he came up, although he was okay in the small sample size last year. You got to do something about the defense, and if you're going to do something about the defense, you can't have them in the corners. So we'll wait and see what happens with the DH, but that type of trade you're talking about is probably the type of thing that doesn't happen midseason. It probably happens in the offseason.
So let me ask you this then. What about the other guys? Because people are texting me. You want to get rid of Hoskins? I said, no, I don't want to get rid of Hoskins. I just recognize he makes the least amount of money and has the most amount of value. Nobody's calling the Phillies for Bryce Harper, correct?
Correct. He's not going anywhere.
Right. And it's not because he stinks. It's because he makes too much money.
That and the no trade, all that stuff. He's here. He's a Philly for life, period.
Right. No one's calling them about JT Realmuto.
Correct.
Makes too much money. How about Zach Wheeler? Would they get calls on Zach Wheeler? He makes a lot of money, but man, he's been pretty darn good.
No, you need to get the value. That's such a really good contract. At the time, people thought, oh well, that's a lot of money. Well, look at what Trevor Bauer got, and I would argue that Zach Wheeler's been better than. I don't think it's an easy argument. He's been better than Trevor Bauer, who's just making $40 million this year. So you want to hang on to that value while you have it.
Yeah. But by the way, I don't think the Phillies want to trade him. The only other guy that they would consider, I guess, and I don't know if they would consider, but they would get calls on would probably be Nola. But I can't imagine. I think they would get more in return for Hoskins they would almost than Nola at this point.
I'll put it this way: I think of the players that are you can't touch on the Phillies roster. You have Harper, you have Realmuto, you have Nola, you have Wheeler. I think anybody else would be fair game as Dave Dombrowski tries to put together.
You're not getting anything of value back in return for anybody else. People say to me all the time, Frank, Well, why don't they trade
Right.
Segura? Okay, trade Segura. What are you getting back for him? All right, trade Didi. What are you getting back for him? All right, trade McCutchen. You're getting a single-A bullpen arm for him. Trade
Yep.
Herrera. Nobody wants him. Everybody wants to trade the guys that nobody else wants.
Yeah, that's exactly why I think the Phillies are going to have to ride this season out. What they are right now, maybe with a couple pieces here or there, I think that's what they have to ride out for the rest of the year, because the type of basically what you're saying is Dave Dombrowski has to sort of reconstruct this whole roster.
Yeah, that's it. Like, you're looking around at this thing, Frank, and saying they're stuck in the middle. They're like the NBA Sixers were after Iverson. We're stuck in the middle. We can't get out of it. How do they what kind of move can this team make to really change it? Now, what evidence do we have that they can get 15 games over 500? I haven't seen any, so that's why I'm saying Dave Dombrowski has to be seeing what I'm seeing and saying this team is what it is.
I think there's evidence that they could win the National League East. I'm not saying that there's convincing evidence that they're going to go ahead and win the National League East. But where you're at with this roster, that's what they have to do. They have too many good players like Real Muto and Harper and Nola and Wheeler that are in their prime. And if they don't go for it now, the other thing that Dave Dombrowski can't do is go for broke right now in season. So what you're probably going to see is he's going to try to make some marginal upgrades along the way. And with his core he has, he's going to see if they can win the National League East. If they can't, well, then you're a year deeper and you have more of your prospects rising through the system. But this is, I think in this situation right now, Dave Dombrowski can't do any extra harm. He can't sign any more long contracts. He can't trade any more prospects. He's got to let the ones he has rise up a little bit more, the Bryson Stotts, and let Mick Abel get a little bit older, and just try not to do any more damage in terms of trading prospects or spending a lot of money to long-term deals.
You just said something about prospects, and I opened up my show today. Luke Williams, great story. Hits a home run, walk-off last night. He's almost in tears. Great story. It's also part of the problem that Luke Williams and Nick Maton are guys that you have to call up because they don't have anybody in this system. Those guys are nice players, but are they guys that are going to be regular and everyday players at the major league level?
No, I think both players you just mentioned, Nick Maton and Luke Williams, they could be the lefty and righty bench bats on the Phillies roster in a couple of years. So I think that's what they profile as. In fact, if you talk about Luke Williams as a prospect, if you look at the MLB pipeline, he was number 29. He was not really held as a high prospect. And actually, both of them, the last couple of years at spring training, the Phillies didn't hesitate to put them in the spring training games because they felt they had a certain maturity about them. And I think that's what got them to the major league so far. But no, they're not position player starters. The next one that you have a shot at is Bryson Stott, who just got up to Double-A and hit 2 home runs in his first game, by the way. But Bryson Stott might be your starting second baseman or starting shortstop, depending where this goes. I mean, you have one more year of Didi and Gene after this year. They might be able to trade one of them after this offseason. In this offseason. So with 1 year left on their deals, I think you do have a shot of moving them next year. But Bryson Stott could be poised to take one of those spots soon.
Well, and like when you say move them, and I tried to explain this, Frank, when someone says, do you want Gene Segura? The other team would say, yes, I would like him, but I'll take him because you don't want him, which means I'm not giving you anything in return for him.
Well, I see, here's the thing. I think the two of them have value. I think if you found a team to match up with the trade, there'd be teams who want Didi Gregorius or who want Gene Segura next year because it's a 1 year deal, but the Phillies might have to chip in $5-6 million on either player. They're both going to make $14 million next year. And that's perhaps a little bit more than most teams would want to spend on the position, but they might trade you something of value if the Phillies need some money. So the Phillies are going to have to be creative with those deals. And a lot of it could depend who they trade of the two, could depend on how they profile lefty righty, could depend on where Bryson Stott ends up. Right now, it's kind of remains to be seen if he'll be a shortstop, second baseman, or maybe even somewhere else.
He, by the way, got promoted from Jersey Shore to Reading, correct?
Correct.
All right, real quick. Who is Luke Williams? Give us a little background on him. Where, because he was, and how did he, when he goes for the Olympic team, how does that all happen?
So in order to qualify for the Olympic team or to be on the qualifying team that he played on, the team that fights to make the Olympics, you can't be on a team's 40-man roster. So what you have is you have a combination of prospects that didn't make the major leagues 40-man at that time, and some recently retired type players. So you had Matt Kemp, you had Todd Frazier, who started the year with the Pirates. You had David Robertson, who signed the 2-year deal with the Phillies and got hurt.
Is he better than anybody the Phillies currently have?
So that's how they put the team together. And actually, Luke Williams led that team in hits. So because the Phillies added him to the 40-man roster and added him just after he came back, he is now no longer eligible to go back on that Olympic team. So he will not be in the Summer Olympics because he will be with the Philadelphia Phillies. I mean, even if the Phillies option him to AAA, he'll then be on the 40-man roster and can't participate. But that it's actually kind of refreshing because for Team USA, usually it used to be all prospects. At least now you have some seasoned veterans kind of getting involved in this. Since they shut the Olympics down several years ago, this is really the first opportunity for Team USA to participate again. And so you got that blend. Some veterans, like I just mentioned, and then some of the young guys. And the fact that he was asked to be on the team was that they showed that there's some value in him. There's some versatility in him. And he was hitting .352 at AAA. So not a bad choice to help qualify for the Olympics. And Team USA will be there in July. Luke Williams will not.
I know you'll like this, Frank, and I think I heard you talk about this with Josh on game night about a week or so ago. No Friday night game for the Phils again.
Again, yeah, this is odd. I might actually have to go out and do things.
The Sixers play tomorrow, man. Come on.
Well, of course, yeah. Well, that's a great point. Actually, it was a lot of fun sitting in the press box Tuesday night while the Sixers were across the street. So I had the Sixers on my phone while I was sitting there, and I saw Rob Motti, who was in front of me. He had the game on his full laptop now and then. So hopefully I didn't get him in trouble. The AP writer, Rob Motti.
He tweeted it out. He tweeted
did he?
out
Okay.
the picture of it.
Yeah. So I was looking over his shoulder a little bit too throughout the course of the game.
All right. Frank Klose, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. Thanks, Frank. That was good stuff.
Yeah, great. Always good to talk to you.
Yeah, man. And, of course, check out the Powder Blue podcast. It's up right now on our website, 973ESPN.com.